This episode was brought to you by Google Cloud, a partner that needs no introduction. What you might not have heard of, though, is that Google offers a Google for Startups cloud program where they give you access to startup experts, technical training, business support, and cover your Google Cloud costs up to $200,000 for 2 years, or even $350,000 if you're an AI startup. Scale your startup faster and smarter with Google Cloud. Head over to goo.gle/Swisspreneur.
You definitely need to validate your feeling about a market opportunity. Lying to ourselves is super easy. We have a great idea. Say, oh yeah, of course it's gonna work. Yeah. You think that. What does the customer really think, right?
Welcome to the Swisspreneur Show, a podcast about startup stories and learnings from experienced entrepreneurs. If you enjoy listening to our show, make sure to follow the podcast and leave a rating. And now, here's your host, Sylvan.
Fabio, a very well welcome to the Swisspreneur Show. It's a pleasure to have you as a guest today.
Thank you, Sylvan.
You're the co-founder and CEO at beqom, a cloud-based compensation management solution. Yeah. Before we talk about your impressive journey there, I actually want to travel back in time a bit and start with your personal background. Mm-hmm. You studied business administration, but also information systems at HEC in Lausanne. And then you went on to work for Hyperion, which got acquired by Oracle just before the turn of the century. So I wonder, what sort of were your professional plans back then? Was it always a goal of yours to be in a company that eventually gets acquired?
Not at all. Absolutely not. It's, so it was, HEC is really a management school. Mm-hmm. And, think of it, that was the very late 80s. And it was really the beginning of the internet and so on. And driven by management, I was always interested in technology applied to management. Mm-hmm. And that was just coming up as I was doing this. And Hyperion was doing this. They were doing like dashboarding system for manager reporting, and say, wow, we can. I really had fun with computers, right? And for me, it was the dream job, right? It's like working with very large organization. Hyperion had big companies as customer, mm-hmm. and help them, while having fun, let them replace paper, right, with screens, basically. Yeah. And sounded like a dream job. So no other plan than just enjoying the moment, I would say. Nice.
But then, despite having that dream job that you just described, you then decided to leave the company. Why was that?
Well, it was a long time. Huh? So so Hyperion for me was my. I say my hands-on university. I really learned what enterprise software was there. It was a great company, great culture, and that's luck, right? Because first job, how do you know? Right? You don't really select. I selected the activity, but then I think I was really lucky to end up with a great company, and that also shaped me I didn't know then, but then clearly shaped me for the future. Ethical behavior with competitor, with no negative selling, all these type of things that are really part, I would say, of my DNA now. Mm-hmm. I think it was acquired, in fact, during my time at Hyperion. And just to finish there, I try to do every single job, important job that you have in the software industry. From development to consulting, to meaning services, to training, to support, to sales, to product management, mm-hmm. to product marketing. Really, so 8 years maybe, and changing job probably every year.
I think there are two very important things that you just mentioned. The first one is doing different roles and really learning everything.
If I may, in different location. When you are managing a company, having employees willing to move from one country to another, provided that they are in line with your culture, is a tremendous asset. Yeah. So I encourage anybody working for a large company to volunteer to move, if you want to move. So I started in France and then very quickly moved to the New York area. And then from there, at one point I was spending my time in Japan. So it was You
All
know,
around
also
the globe.
geographical movement is as important as a functional movement. Yeah.
And the second thing you said is this importance of the first gig that you take on. It really shapes you, you know, at the young age. It really shapes you. You probably didn't have a master plan to select that, but how can you make sure that you select a good company or a good position, you know, for this very first job?
So that's something I continue to do today is like, I want to have fun. You know, it's like you are going to, if like me, you take your job seriously, you are going to spend way too much time doing this and ending up probably spending more time with the individual you are working with than with your family sometimes, right? Yeah. So things have to be natural. You need a natural good feeling. And I summarize it by you need, you know, it's like you want to be excited. You do the interview, you say, clearly I want to be part of that team. And you should say it, right? Because I think the people hiring you, they're looking for the same thing, right? Yeah. So it's really about, you know, just feeling good. Wow, you know, I want to work there. You know, I want to be part of that team.
But I guess that's something that you only really fully grasp once you start working with the people, right?
I think during the interviews, you read, you see the style. Of course, you can be wrong, right? But sometimes, you know, your gut feeling, they're good.
So it really is a strong gut feeling that helps you to make these decisions as well.
Actually, it was my first job, but since I was looking, I didn't want to work in Switzerland, so I was looking abroad. I connected with headhunter, which normally are not really working with people out of university. But here, you know, the fact that at that time I was really doing both management and computers, you know, this duality was a bit unique. So a headhunter in Paris helped me, and he found me that job at Hyperion in France, where I stayed a few years, right? Yeah. So he said, you know, he already told me, look, you know, I think I understand who you are. That's you want to meet with them, you know, that's your dream job. I think he helped. Yeah.
And then afterwards, you went on to work for OutlookSoft. You know, the first company got acquired, and then OutlookSoft a few years later got acquired by SAP. It seems that you just have sort of this magical touch or the Midas touch to get companies acquired.
I would love to say that, but absolutely not. Hyperion, we were a pretty large organization. I grew with the organization, but I was a manager or whatever, but I was not a leader of the company by any means. So I learned like everybody that we were, you know, being, and I left actually before the acquisition, right? But the reason I left had nothing to do with Hyperion. I loved it there, and I'm pretty sure I could have been super happy working at Oracle. What made me leave was so I had these colleagues that were clearly leaders in the organization, so they probably knew what was going on, right, with Oracle and so on, and they had decided to create their own company, OutlookSoft. And the minute I realized that, I was on a mission. So please take me. You know, I was the young guy of the team, but please take me with you. Take me, you know, and really say it's too early. We don't need you from the beginning. Say I don't care. But we cannot be. I don't care. You know, it's like I just wanted to be part of it. You know, to be there from the beginning. And for me, it was a mess because it was in the US. I didn't have any green card or citizenship, so there was visa issue, and it was very complex. And even bigger for risk, right? Because there with the family and so on, and all of a sudden you are not paid, and you are. But for me, it was again, I didn't care about the risk. I didn't see the risk at all. It was just I want to be part of that.
And a big learning opportunity again for you to be part of that journey.
So the OutlookSoft journey, that for me, that's where I learn entrepreneurship. It feels very natural. Like you know, I was acting on instinct. And I could see I could move much faster than even a great company, pretty agile company like Hyperion. When the minute you do your own thing, you can move really like lightning fast. And that so I discover, you know, entrepreneurship with that second experience.
And that's then sort of the combination, right? Entrepreneurship and enterprise software that sort of shaped you to eventually become your own entrepreneur.
Yeah, exactly. So my resume is super boring because it's only enterprise software, which is not the most fun domain. But you can have fun in a pretty dry domain. And at the end, it's with the last one, with the current company, it's only 3 companies. That's it.
Yeah, perfect. And then SAP acquired OutlookSoft.
Yeah.
You stayed on for a while, a bit less than a year. And there you also helped to manage the integration. You oversaw cross-continental expansion. And I assume that was sort of quite another steep learning experience that you went through there.
So the biggest learning curve and what a lot of the experience I acquired was before the acquisition, during OutlookSoft, because I was the only non-American guy, from that initial core team. And when you start in a company in the US, and I'm sure we'll talk about this a bit later, but when you start a company in the US, you don't need to think about international, meaning what the US call international, anything outside of the US. You don't need to think about this on the beginning.
Yeah.
The market is really big enough to get you going for a while, and you can be a really successful, I would say, on a worldwide list. You can be probably leader with operation only in the US, just a phenomenal market.
Yeah.
So our investor, the board, they didn't care about international, and me, it was just emotional. I was building that product, and I remember thinking of all this Nestle, all these Swiss companies where I come from, right? Like they could use this, Of course they could use this, and it will be perfect for them. And one day I say, look, I want to do this, but again there was no interest. We had a few customers because one of the founder meaning investor, not non-executive investor, was Italian. So we had a handful of customers in Italy, completely disconnected from the rest of the operation. But that was it. And I say, look, we can make that company global. I understand you. I completely understand why it's not a priority for you. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to leave. I'm going to create my I'm going to do that, and I'm going to give you 50% royalties. And the minute the board say, really, you are ready to do that, and they say, okay, then we do it together. Right.
Wow.
And because it was, I think the minute they understood, for me, it was obvious again to take that risk, which I didn't see at a risk at all. Right. And that was great because here we say we, because you never do any of this thing completely alone. But, in my mind, I really wanted to experience how to launch new countries, international business. So, we tried with going with the distributors, right? And I had people that had a lot of experience there helping me. And we tried going direct, opening, hiring employees in new countries. And that was more what I was used to. And so we could compare. So I learned a lot about building international businesses there and dealing with this different culture. And I also learned a lot about China. We were in the year 2000, right? I really wanted to, for me, being global without China at that time would have been crazy. So successful in Japan, and then, and again, the board said, China, we are scared, we don't understand, but okay, they give me a budget, which was not big enough for China for sure, but that forced me to be a bit smart, and we have been successful in China as well. Right? So that was a great experience. Yes.
These decisions where everyone tells you we're not going to do that, it's not our focus, but you kept trying and trying until you eventually were able to make it happen. What kept you going in these moments to say we really need to push this internationalization? Why didn't you just say, oh, the board said no, okay, let's move on with my life?
Because I didn't know it at the time. I know it now. It's something I learned during the beqom time, and I will be happy to talk about this. But what everybody wants at the end, the most important things that everybody is looking after in a business, whether they are investors or entrepreneur, it's a market opportunity. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's the. If you step back, that will be the lowest level fundamental thing that you need and that you don't control, right? It's market opportunity. And it's super hard because you cannot control it. You have to admit you cannot control it. There is a huge, time. The time has a huge impact, the timing of the opportunity. So when you have a product that works, because you are coming from there, it's going to work, in Europe even more, because I could see how it was even solving specific issues in Europe related to some regulation. Mm-hmm. It's everybody will follow you if the market opportunity is there, especially the investors.
I
just
see.
have to convince them.
So it really is about understanding where you are in terms of the timing, while you know that you cannot influence the timing, but trying to catch the right wave, so to speak.
Yeah. Cemeteries are full of great product that were there too early or too late.
Yeah.
But, timing is everything here.
How did you exactly do that? Because you see it's working in some areas, but that's not a guarantee that the same product will also work in Japan and China, for example, right? It's an indicator maybe at the maximum.
I think it's, I never work for a company, for SAP, big enough to do, market research with consulting firms to validate that. So I think you have to go from your network, always from your guts, and then validate it from your network. You definitely need to validate your feeling about a market opportunity. Lying to ourselves is super easy. We have a great idea. Say, oh yeah, of course it's gonna work. Yeah. You think that. What does the customer really think, right? So validation is necessary, but you can do it in a pretty efficient way.
How did you do it? You just called up a few people and asked them for feedback?
No, I was coming because Outlooksoft and Hyperion were in the same field,
right?
So all my colleagues, they never really worked in Europe for Hyperion. I did for 4 years in Paris, right? So for me it was obvious. It's just obvious, right? And then you team up with people that sees the same thing from outside the company, assemble a team,
and then you go.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, in 2007, after the acquisition, you then decided to leave. Why?
Me personally, I was super happy at super happy at SAP is too much of a word, but I was definitely gonna stay.
Yeah.
By default, I was gonna stay because I had a super interesting job. I was collaborating with really amazing people and of course also less amazing people. It's a big company, but overall the company culture was pretty good, right?
No.
And I was on a mission to help the CEO at the time to remove the exception to that statement, because there were some pretty bad people, I think, that had really a negative impact. So since I didn't really care about my career, But yeah, because you have a feeling that after a successful exit like this, you can do, maybe you are wrong, but you can do a lot of other things, right? So say, look, SAP is a great company. Some people here, maybe they have been at SAP for 5 years and so on. I was convinced they didn't belong there and that they were really hurting that business. So you go, you go on a mission to help at the end, to help your employer to be a better company. And that behavior that was not really planned, I think, worked really well with the CEO at the time and the head of SAP America at the time, that also became very well known afterwards. Became CEO of SAP as well. I think they really appreciate the behavior. So I had a great job, really working with the top people of the company. So no intention to leave. But one day with some of my colleagues, we wanted to do a special bonus to influence quite a lot of people, a few hundred people. And at SAP, we had amazing processes based on SAP software for really everything. And that's something I discovered. It was like the beauty of process automation, well-defined process with good software, approve, and just manage the exception. And the process to get that bonus together was a nightmare. And and frankly, I didn't know anything about comp, as an employee, right? Receiving a bonus, but defining, I never really thought of this. But the fact that at one point I received from HR a spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet attached to an email with all the bonuses to be, quote unquote, to be approved. So that's completely crazy, right? There is no workflow. There is, I can change the calculation. It makes no sense, right?
Yeah, of course.
And then, the result was pushed into SAP, but only the result. Again, I was doing other things. I was focused on driving the change, not on managing bonus, right? But you still ask, you say, but by the way, why we're not using SAP to do that? And then the answers, that's why it started. The answers did not make sense. It's like, because it's too complex. Really? You see the complex stuff that we do? okay, managing complex is not bonuses is not trivial, but it's not.
It's not rocket
to the
science.
point that you cannot provide a solution. So what do you do for what do we do for our customers? Nobody really knew. Wow. It feels like nobody cared. Everybody was okay with managing your. Most companies, the compensation is the number one expense, right? It's where you. So if you want to save money, or if you have an error, that's where the impact can be really big. It's the big piece of your total cost, right? Yeah. And everybody is okay with doing this in spreadsheets, in the largest companies in the world, right? So so we're talking about market opportunity here. Of course, that was not my job at all to do that. But every time I was meeting a customer for my day job, right? At the end, I would ask, "Hey, I have something completely unrelated to ask you. Can you tell me how you manage compensation?" And they would say, in SAP. Say, I don't think so. Can we look into that, right? And then you realize that most of the time it was spreadsheets, like, I would say 90, probably 95%. And then you have a few companies that, on the opposite, they invested millions, right, in custom-made, solution, like that they developed to do it, like a black box that they own. And having spent by then quite a few years in enterprise software, that when people over and over, they are using spreadsheets to do something that is fundamental, that you have a massive opportunity.
Of course. Yeah.
So for me, that was the biggest market opportunity. I quickly validated that Oracle customer, which was the big competitor of SAP for this type of organization at the time. Workday did not exist at that time. The Oracle customer were in the same situation, using spreadsheets. So frankly, at that stage, I didn't spend more time doing, I said, that's it. We have the biggest market opportunity. So went back to SAP, said, do we want to do something about this? And it was not a no, but not a yes, And I understand because it's all priorities, It's like, everybody could see that there is an opportunity, but, since there was no competitive pressure, it was like a detail, right? There was like much more important things that was on the roadmap. So, okay, it's going to take years. And for me, it's like someone is going to do it. With I thought that there was a few months, right, available in order to come up with a solution, and then the opportunity would close. So that's it. We're not going to wait. Mm-hmm. And I think that decision was made super easy because all my ex-colleagues, they were pushing me like crazy. So while I was having fun, that was not necessarily the case for the majority of them. I would say, or maybe 50% were super happy in SAP. The other one, they were looking for a more agile, say, when do we go back together? When do we have fun again together? Whatever the activity, by the way.
Of course.
And something I learned a little bit, or maybe around that time or just after, is that if you try to put, a science to it, the two things you need to launch a company, it's number one, that market opportunity we're talking about, and number two is a great team, a team that is proven to. If you have these two things, everything else doesn't matter, right? The product will come out one way or another. Maybe not the first round, but on the third try, exactly. Yeah. So again, I didn't see a risk, It was, and again, alone, I don't think I would have made that decision to leave SAP because I was, I would say comfortable, not sure it's the right word, comfortable, but, like it was very natural to be there. I think I would have done a great career there. But, being a little bit pushed by my colleagues or ex-colleagues and that market opportunity, maybe I will never, in my life, I will not find this again.
So you then made the jump and you started beqom out of this. You have two co-founders, Tanya and Stephan.
We had more. That's the one that are still there.
Okay, I see. That's also a very natural
After
journey.
14 years, it's still good to have still three, I would say, out of the 5 or 6 from the beginning.
So how did you meet them? How did you meet your co-founders? Were you working at SAP together, or where did you meet?
So by default, the co-founders, they were together at Outlooksoft. Yeah. So we're all SAP. Some of them simply refused to go to SAP.
Okay.
So they. Meaning refused. They give their, it's like the minute the acquisition was announced, they resigned because they knew they didn't want to work for a large organization. Mm-hmm. And some of them, they were like me, it's like, let's give it a try. That sounds interesting, right? Yeah. I would say the co-founder, they were from same background as me, except one, Stephan, which had been at SAP forever. Spent his, and he was on the acquisition side. So the first, I think he's the first person during the acquisition process, the first person I spoke to in Europe, right? So I was the representative in Germany for Outlooksoft, and he was the representative of SAP there. So we started working together very early on, even I would say during the process. Mm-hmm. And when I told him, so after maybe 8 or 9 months, that it's probably one of the first person I said, look, I'm gonna leave SAP. Right. He said, oh, I don't care what you do. I know what you guys did with Outlooksoft. This time I want to be with you guys. Yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then you had the team assembled, you had validated the idea, hey, there's a big problem. They're all doing that either with custom solutions that are very expensive or with the spreadsheet madness. What did he then do? Did he immediately develop the first version, or what was sort of the next step once you had the validation, the team in place?
Yeah. So first, when you tell the story like this 15 years later, it looks all clean.
Of course.
So I can tell you it's not like this at all. You are full of doubt. It's messy. Yeah. Everything is gray. It's not black or white, right? But nevertheless, the trend is definitely what we're talking about. Very, very strong feeling that everybody needed a better solution. Yeah. We build... At Outlooksoft, we build solution for the largest company in the world successfully. Say, okay, same people, they can do it again, right? Mm-hmm. Even if it's in a completely different area. Software is software. So we decided to do it, right? But you don't know how. And then that's where luck strikes. But, again, you call it luck, but it's definitely luck. But it's like, when you are looking for a parking spot and you find a spot. You are lucky to find a spot, but you are definitely looking, right? Yes, you are checking every road, every side street, right? You say, if there's a spot, I'm not going to miss it, right? Yeah. So I think I was a little bit in that spirit. Nevertheless, there is a friend, a Hyperion colleague, so a guy that I probably haven't spoken with in 10 years or so, that calls, say, I see what you guys did with Outlooksoft, and I'm on the board of a company in France, in Paris, and I think they could use your help because they want to do the same thing. They want to be acquired by, I forgot who, I think it was Microsoft, right? Mm-hmm. But they wanted to do a trade sale like this, and they say they could really help you. And I say, yeah, but I was turning it down because I didn't want to spend my time doing this, at least at that time. And but you have this action in your life. You just remember. I remember where I was at home. I remember I was about to hang up, and before hanging up, I said, "Okay, but just tell me again about the activity. Because it was software, but the way it was presented, it was a bit fuzzy. I didn't. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me again, really, the purpose of the software and what is it? What's the technology?" And when he described it, he said, but that's exactly what we need, the technology, not the way it was spoken about and so on, but the tech, the software, that's what we need to solve this world problem, this comp issue. That was my feeling. So I went to Paris, I met with the people and so on. And so I didn't give them what they wanted, which is, a strategy to be acquired. But I say, look, you are only working in France. They were only working in France and North Africa because French speaking.
Right.
So okay, I can really do without that French market. I'm okay with it. But you give me exclusivity on the technology outside of that. Mm-hmm. So that way it was, I knew that if I had exclusivity, I could immediately generate revenue. So I'd take the money from the Outlooksoft exit. I was ready to risk, and again, I was not risking it. So investing it into a beqom, right? I was ready to do that, and my wife as well. I mean, completely full support. And then if you can sell something that they were very successful with in France. So we had to translate it, find the right people to sell. But started selling it in all the other countries outside of France. You also immediately generate cash flow, right? So this little by little, we started shaping the solution towards what we needed. We came up with the word total compensation management, all aspects of comp, all these key messages, and try to make it sense with their past, move all this together, and it's working really well, right? We are signing a lot of deals, and so very quickly, the company that we created becomes bigger than the French company, right?
Yeah.
Just because of the geography. It's not
course,
because we are smarter or whatever. It's just because of the international experience. You can replicate more times, so you become bigger. And we also help them because we pay nice royalties to them every time we sell, right? And then one day we have the investors of that French company that say, "Look, we want you to manage." To be the CEO of that French company. I said, I don't know, because why? Why, right? It's like, of course. I understand that's where your money is, but there is no. So the solution to align everybody, our goals and their goals was to merge, meaning acquire that entity. So that was our first acquisition, right? First
Fantastic.
time we opened. A bit the capital, and 4 years after.
Because I was wondering, that deal, you license out the technology for them, but then you're also a bit dependent on them, right? Completely. Because if they would, for whatever reason, they see you building up all these other markets and they say, hey, the business potential is much bigger outside of France. Yeah. Let's renegotiate the deal and we want to do it ourselves. That was a risk that you were facing there.
Well, at that time, I really thought we were one of the best team without being arrogant, right? Mm-hmm. Just the experience we had done it with Hyperion, we had done it with Outlooksoft. And launching a new product from start, even if you have been successful in another country, signing a first customer in the US, in the UK, in Germany, in Switzerland, right? It's not easy. That first customer, it's really not easy. So here we have demonstrated that we could do it in I think 8 countries at the time, right? Mm-hmm. Less countries than now, by the way. More countries than now. We reduced since then. It's like maybe the CEO of that company think, okay, I'll do it myself, but his board, his investor, and say, no way, it's like they have done it, so let's work with them. Of course. I don't think, it's always a risk, but normally, I would say here the rule is always work partner with smart people. Yeah. I will never. I want to raise money from the smartest people. I want to do a deal with very smart people. The minute the people are smart, they become. They are more predictable. It's like. So here, I mean, the founder of that French company was extremely smart, and I had a lot of respect for what he did, and he did the right thing, and everybody did the right thing.
Yeah. So you had your first acquisition under your belt. 50% of beqom's revenue is actually based from the US, so you have a strong focus there. Nevertheless, beqom has its headquarters in Switzerland. Yeah. Why is Switzerland the right home base for you to build a global or an international company? Because some investors or even customers might have requested you should move to the US with all your company headquarters.
Absolutely. And this is not by mistake or by chance. The first 2 companies out of the 3 that I work with were US centric, right? Mm-hmm. And so that was my by default approach. You start in the US, it's a massive domestic market. You are successful there, in the first 4 years, and then you internationalize, meaning you adapt what you have done for the US to the entire world. And it works very well because that's what people expect. At the end, German people, Swiss people were completely okay to buy US software, and probably even okay to sign a contract that is in English. Maybe not in France, but it's like we're used to that, right? It's expected. Yeah. If you have a lot of businesses that try to do that exactly the same approach from France, so you have tons of great solution coming out from Paris. Good engineering school. I'm sure there is good reason for that. But the fact is, you have a lot of great startup there, and they grow, successful in France. But then they really struggle to get out because if you start in France in French, applying the same model as you do with the US, doesn't work. UK people or US people, they're not really okay to start. Even hire people, hire and start working with a company where everybody is having fun in French. It's pretty hard, right? As a startup. So we can come back on that. By the time of the acquisition by SAP and so on, I'm back in Switzerland, right? And I'm in Switzerland. I say, wow, this is a fantastic place to build a global business because there is literally no domestic market. When you live in French-speaking Switzerland, your market is French-speaking Switzerland because good luck to go sell software to someone in Zurich. Yeah. Good luck.
Yes.
They see you. It's like you don't even speak German or Swiss German, and it's Switzerland is a very domestically it's a super hard. It's super small and fragmented.
Yeah, that's
so
crazy.
It's a nightmare, right?
Yeah.
So if you start, so that's why I picked Switzerland because by definition we cannot think domestic. Yeah. We have to. So the product that we build, we cannot look at Swiss regulation. We have to, assume from the start that our software will have to adapt to any possible regulation in the world. Yeah. So all of a sudden, instead of focusing on the regulation, you focus on the rule engine, right, that can accommodate any flexibility and so on and so on. So you are forced to think correctly, I would say, or differently. And same thing with the contract. It's like you hire a lawyer to build your first sales contract for the customer. You say, okay, I need something that works everywhere in the world. Maybe it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but you have a contract that works everywhere in the world, right? And so on and so on. So with beqom, we decided to put the headquarters in Switzerland so that we start a global business from the start. And the last thing we had to do, and it's easy in Switzerland because people are international, right? If you have advanced studies in Switzerland, you are used to work in English and so on and so on. And so the last piece we had to do is impose English as the natural, informal language, for absolutely everything. So the rule is that from day one, you don't tolerate anything written in any other language than English for internal stuff. If you do that, then you're going to be able to be successful in the US. But it's a prerequisite because if you say, okay, we speak French because we're in French-speaking Switzerland and so on, and you start in French, you have all this email in French, and all of a sudden the knowledge base for the product is in French, the architecture document is in French, and so on. Yeah. It's too late, and you are not going to be able to expand to countries that have no tolerance for languages that are not English. Yeah.
I like that. So really setting it up for a global company, for a global success eventually. Communicate all in English, company-wide.
Absolutely. Yeah. And to that day, it's we have core values. It's one of the core values. Mm-hmm. We hire people. So even for a job that is 100% local, right? Whatever the country, completely comfortable and fluent in English. Not okay in English. Completely is absolutely mandatory. Yeah. And 100% of the employees are in that situation.
Amazing. And then as a Swiss company, you were acquiring some pretty big household names, enterprise customers in the US like PepsiCo or DHL, for example. How do you make a deal? How do you expand into that customer segment? Because if they have to write a deal and sign a contract with just a Swiss AG, which they probably have never heard of, and they don't even know, how to structure the address compared to the US standards, how do you make that happen? Because that's also a pretty big challenge to then scale out of Switzerland to these big enterprise US-based customers.
So that's the beauty of focus. My entire life, I was spent doing software for these companies. Yeah. I don't know how to make software for small businesses. And it's not easier, by the way, to do software because you might think it's easier. No, because for example, a small business, they want something super easy and easy to buy, and that's not my job. I have zero experience with that, right? But I have experience dealing with a very large organizations. So people that are not used to it, they think it's impossible. I see what people consider probably easy as something that I will not know how to do it, right? so it was very natural, having spent our life, and my colleagues, all of us, right? Or even the guy that was all along at SAP, they struggle. Now they are doing well with the SMEs, with the small businesses, but it took them a while to get there, right? So it's it was very natural, and that was focused. We only reach out to this organization. So we did not move up market. I think every time we open a country, it was with a very large organization. I remember Vodafone in the UK. Literally every time a new country, first sale in a new territory for beqom, it was a very well-known logo. Yeah.
And that's what you live and breathe, enterprise software.
Yeah, exactly.
And closely linked to that, you mentioned multiple times how important the team is, the people behind the company. Yeah. You also very much focused on the culture at beqom. So how did you, or how can any founder really positively shape and impact the company culture? What were you focusing there on in your founder journey?
Yeah. So there's a guy out there in the US that had a phenomenal impact on our company, and he doesn't even know it. It's true. It's an investor. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's still on the beginning. I think probably 2013 and so on. Our capital was pretty much closed, right? But so we're not raising money, but some people were pretty pushy at wanting to invest and help us being a better company, or grow faster. And since we didn't have time, I didn't want to do a process. Say, why don't you come? We have that event in Chicago. Why don't you come see us on the event so you can see the market? You can assess the market opportunity. You can see our competitor, and you can see us, right? Mm-hmm. And you see our product because we do demos. And he did that. So very experienced guy. He had been a very successful entrepreneur. He was like maybe close to retirement age, I don't know, but he was like, and now he was like an investor. He had a fund. And so he spent the day there, and at the end of the day, he said, "You want to debrief? I had a fantastic day. You want to debrief?" And I say, "Yeah, absolutely." So, you really have something unique in that market, because there was like quite a few companies doing compensation stuff, on that event. And say, your company is really, really has something amazing. You know what it is? I say, yeah, of course, it's our customer. Like you said, we had only amazing customers, right? Because say, no, that's impressive, but that's not what I have in mind. So cannot be the product, right? I mean, it's like the product evolves. So, no, it's not the product. It's your people. You are passionate. You are passionate about what you do, and that you manage to have the same passion in everybody working in that company, because we had a red t-shirt in that show, right? So you could easily spot the people.
Nice.
And say, I see the energy and the passion in traffic. Look at the other players. It's not like this. They are doing their job, but they are. And of course, I understood what he said, because I try to hire people I'm gonna have fun with.
Of course.
And we're probably 40 people at the time, so you can still control all the people. Control meaning personally interview, and make sure you hire all the people you want to hire. And he really opened a topic that was hidden for me. I kind of knew it, but without knowing it. Mm-hmm. And then he said, "Now, do you know what your biggest problem is?" And that was the magic of that guy. I say, of course, no. I say, well, it's what you have done with this is that you define a fantastic company culture. The problem is you didn't define it. You cannot articulate it. So that's why you have to interview all the people, and it's not scalable, because you cannot say this is the recipe. Those are the core values that an individual have to be okay with, more than okay, have to embrace in order to fit, right? Yeah. And since he said that, again, I remember it was in late August in Chicago, in that meeting room, it became an obsession. Mm-hmm. That evening in the hotel, I was like, doing my bullet list, the core values. What is it? And it took me a few months, but I got them, and they are still there. And I think we added one very recently, because of course, as you grow, you're at a different stage, things have to be adjusted, but it's pretty much there. And So of course, the most trivial, the last one is about we're a global company, no chit chat. Even if you are speaking with your best buddy that is also French or whatever, it's in English so that the colleague that we moved with his family to work there, can participate to the joke. So for each of these core value, so I didn't hire a consultant to help me define the core values, not at all. Actually, that's the reason why, if you had met me before that meeting in Chicago, I would have told you, culture, all the core values, this is a complete waste of time. It's about result, it's about performance, it's about, I was that guy, it's like driven by revenue and AR, and definitely not by culture and core values. It was like, why? Because all the company I worked with before, and I saw they were not doing it right. They had good, okay or good culture, definitely, but it was always hiring people to define them and so on. And the culture has to come from only one guy or two guys or three guys, the co-founders, right? Absolutely. And only you can do it. So that was, and since then it really helped.
I love this story. I think it's really something that the listeners will also remember and then hopefully reflect upon. Besides the core values that you defined, what other practices did you implement? Did you then say, hey, every week or every month we really repeat them, and do you really make sure that people get them and follow them? Or what else did you do besides the pure writing down of the core values to really shape your culture?
The minute your core values are real, so I think when you look at the core values of the company, you immediately know if they are real or not. The minute I see, we have high ethics. We respect, okay. Here you can see, the focus group, and you have to. Yeah. So core values, I cannot be the result of a focus group for a consensus. It's the personality of someone with some good stuff, some bad stuff, right? Mm-hmm. I'm pretty much impatient, and you're going to see that in the core values, right? Yeah. And I'm sure you can have a great, a great CEO that is super patient, and it's going to be in the core values. It's just going to be a different culture, of course, that you can be very successful with. But the point is that it's the minute you define your culture, the people that you hire adapt to the culture, right? Mm-hmm. And if you don't do that, then it's the most vocal new hire is going to steer you away from your culture, and then you don't know what's going on. Yeah. If you have a global business, it's essential because you want the same feeling, the same culture, whether you're in the New York office or you're in the Krakow office.
And you can't be there all the time.
Exactly.
Right?
So the culture, and what I noticed is as we continue to grow, it became almost easier. Yeah. It's like there is a momentum going on, and things, people that don't fit with the culture, the system is taking care of it.
Right.
Someone sent an email. So, for example, one of the core value number 2 is about we have to inspire people. Mm-hmm. So here, I think the one thing that changed my life is the Start With Why from Simon Sinek. It's a book, but you probably don't want to read the book. Just if you don't know what I'm talking about, you watch the Start With Why video, TEDx. Okay, Simon, it's pretty old now, more than 10 years, but it's gold. Okay, that video, 18 minutes, changed my life, the Golden Circle. And I say, okay, it changed my life in a good way, right? In the way you communicate and the way you interact with people around you. And say, I had no tolerance for people that are not doing this. I say, I want to have fun. I'm going to work with people that are doing this as well. So I spent every time we hire people. So once a year, we do a session with all the new employees where I go over this core value during 2 hours, 6 core values, 2 hours, and I explain them. And it's not just about this; it's about this is the core value, and that's how we get there. You give the tool in order to for people to embrace it and understand it.
Wow, I love that. There's one last topic I want to talk about to you. Besides the culture and, of course, the market expansion, etc., you've been CEO at beqom for 15 years now. How has your role evolved over time? Because I imagine from the early days to today, you probably had to wear pretty different hats along the journey.
Yes. So in the beginning, you do whatever is needed. So you are definitely a player, right? If I take a soccer analogy, on the beginning, you don't have maybe a good goalkeeper. So it's okay, that's it. All of a sudden, I have to become a good goalkeeper. Yeah. But you have the adrenaline and the passion and so on. So somehow, maybe you are not going to be the best goalkeeper, but you're going to be a good goalkeeper. Sure. Because you are driven and soccer, soccer being enterprise software, let's say it's your thing, right? So you do what is needed. So sometimes when I talk to my team, I still reference the last deal that I personally signed, or as a sales guy, if you want, right? Yeah. Because that was the last experience I had, and it's really, really a long time ago. But I often refer that because I was doing it, in a way that I think that was effective, and I want people to continue. So anyhow, I was clearly playing. Now that's the question I often get: what do you do? And the answer is absolutely nothing. I have a fantastic team. Just added one more now, so I think it's 11 people now. Okay, reporting to me. They really have a specific function, and 11 is perfect. It's a soccer team.
Exactly.
Okay, and it's not on purpose because I don't really like soccer. On top of that, so but it's a perfect analogy. And here I feel like I'm the coach. Okay, each of my colleagues is better than me in what they do, for sure. Right. Okay, so and for me it's obvious. So how can what are the statistical chances that you come up with a good idea, right? beqom, and then you are also the best guy to head your product strategy, or the best guy to, like, one in how many millions? You go play lotto before that happens. Yeah. So of course you have the co-founders, but then try to hire people that are fit well with your culture, fit most importantly perfectly with the team, right? So it's not about like sometimes we do in Switzerland, we take that super expensive player in a team of average local player. It's not going to work, right? Yeah, it doesn't work. It's what counts is really the team. Yeah. So really focusing on having an amazing team and manage the exception. And then if there is one thing that I really try to work on and make sure it's there, is the culture at the end. If there is one thing that it comes, but then all the crises, whether it's a product crisis, a customer crisis, whatever, right? If my brain is available because all the ongoing stuff is being managed by someone in charge, then my brain is available for the unexpected things, and that's my added value, I guess.
Hey Swisspreneurs, we've just released our 4th free masterclass on go-to-market strategy with Ankita, Mehta, and Soumya Dash. Ankita is a serial entrepreneur currently building Lexity.ai, an AI legal tech startup, and Soumya is a co-founder at Sleepiz, a startup providing a medtech device that offers sleep insights and a real Swiss scale-up case. They're both seasoned entrepreneurs who've learned their trade through trial and error and lived to tell the tale. Check out this free masterclass to learn how to define your ideal customer profile, how to price your product, and how to get your first customers. Check out the link in the show notes to view our free masterclass. Thank you and have a great day. And how is this change from being, very operational, you do whatever it takes in all the different areas, to now focusing on the culture and more coaching people, being less hands-on? Is one or the other more or less rewarding for you as a founder? Because I imagine you get this adrenaline rush that you described when you're, pushing new things out, opening new markets.
Yeah. No, it's still there because now the reason so that's why it's super important that I surround myself with the right people. Yeah. So if you take Stephan and Tanya, the two co-founders. So one is CRO, so head of sales. The other one is head of marketing. That sense of urgency, they have it more than me. I don't know, or at least the same. Yeah. So it's a pleasure. It's like I don't have to say, come on, not at all. We are like, the alignment is complete. The attitude is there. So it would be frustrating if I felt like I was losing all the things we're talking about. But
Sure.
not at all. On the opposite, I think it's bigger. It's bigger, and I'm doing stuff, especially since we're going to probably talk about it. But the last financing event that we did, all of a sudden, now we have a capacity to acquire companies and so on, and in a more active way than before, and it's that's really great to learn new things, right?
Exactly.
To learn new activities.
And you mentioned in 2022, you actually announced a $300 million strategic investment from, I hope I pronounce it correctly, Sumeru.
Correct.
Equity Partners, a private equity firm, basically. You sold 100% of the shares to that private equity partner.
Correct.
Why was that the right step for you to take?
Because in 2017, we raised money from Goldman Sachs. It was a minority deal. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we were in, but I really wanted to have a stellar investor in and the deal with Goldman Sachs is that they will do a great exit for them, course, right? Yeah. After 4 years, and so then COVID came in, so the 4 years became 5 years, and so on and so on. But that was my commitment, and I think I have only one word, right? So, of course, Goldman Sachs, but also all the friends and family that invested into beqom all along, right? Mm-hmm. Wanted to offer a perfect exit. And so meaning maximize the valuation.
Of course.
And I was very clear with that, I say, okay, me personally, I don't want to sell, I don't want to stop, but I'm not going to find my best home for me as a CEO in the future. Mm-hmm. I was very open with the board, and of course they were happy with that, but also my colleagues, right, or at least the co-founder. So we go for max valuation, even if it's a complete assholes that buy us. So be it, we'll do something else, right? But we will maximize valuation. Yeah. And but we didn't find any assholes, like you will, people that will tear the company apart and try to maximize. No.
These are usually the stories you hear from private equity, right?
I had no expectations. So so here, even I would say super aggressive private equity. I saw the strategy. I could see where they were going, and for me it made sense. But nevertheless, we went for full exit at a maximum valuation, and there was a bid going on. Bidding system, and it's not, the people that you really expected to win, to win the bid and so on. It didn't happen. And Sumeru, I didn't know at all. Mm-hmm. Really, I discovered them through the process, and it was during COVID. But they really make the effort to come from Silicon Valley to Switzerland. I think twice in a month. Really like massive investment from their side, and I started really liking them. Right. Mm-hmm. And as a matter of fact, I think it was probably reciprocal because they end up, bidding, and the people that I were expecting to almost mutual agreement say, of course you are going to acquire us, yes. Yeah. They dropped, the valuation was coming too high, mm-hmm. and they won, and I was really happy because wow, they are really. We were really aligned on the vision. Mm-hmm. It's like I had an idea of what beqom could become, and it was aligned with what they see. So I would say it's growth equity. Okay, it's private equity, but not to maximize the EBITDA in order to. It's really to maximize growth, healthy growth, and very much aligned. So the minute we did the deal, I told them I want to invest on the same term. So. Mm-hmm. The co-founders you mentioned, a few of us, we reinvested into it.
And these 300 million that you had as a valuation, was that what you were aiming for, or was it higher or lower than your expectations?
It was very much in line.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. Goldman Sachs was very happy with the beqom experience, and for me, that's what counts. It's like I think you owe it to the people that trust you.
Exactly. They trusted you.
Exactly.
Went into the risk, and now you delivered.
So I took a risk because, I could have ended up with someone owning the company that wanted to do something I was not aligned. And okay, that's it. But I was completely ready for that. Yeah. So it's all, it's all good surprises. Therefore, it's easier to be happy. Yeah.
So now you doubled down your reinvestment.
Yeah.
And what changed for you as a founder, if anything, by now running the company?
So now before, it was really, it felt like it was my company, even if Goldman Sachs, because minority, of course you have to convince, even when minority shareholder, you always try to convince them. And so I was always making sure that everybody was aligned. I would never do something in a conflictual way here, but I never had to, at least. Here I was very clear. I say, guys, it's your company. So I want to be very clear. So I'm always going to voice my opinion and so on. But you pay that much money for me, 300 million is phenomenal amount of money.
Of course.
It's like you have the right to decide, and I'm going to help you, right? I completely respect that. I'm not going to try to pretend that I call the shots here. And I don't know. So for me, it was the first time I was working with a controlling entity like this. Mm-hmm. But I did the exact opposite of what I think I saw most people doing, which was to protect. It's like I went open book. Yeah. Let's say actually, one of the operating partner, but they're great guys, so you want to do that. But they hired a new operating partner, and he was, it's like, can he spend time with you? It's like for 1 year, I put it in the management team. Mm-hmm. So, and and they couldn't believe it, right? They say, I want the help. It's like, if anything, I want to learn, right? Best practices. And Sumeru is an amazing company. They have somehow some sort of a recipe. They have expectation of what a good business is, right? Which we are not. Today we are not, so especially not in 2022. So okay, we're going to take 4 or 5 years to get you there, right? And I want to learn how to create a great, amazing business.
Yeah. So. It's like the next learning opportunity for you as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
In what way, you already went through exits before, in what way has the money changed you, if anything?
I think it's money and age. It's not. It gives you I don't have to put up with any bullshit. By the way, even with Sumeru, it's like if they say something that is just wrong, a little bit of my behavior at SAP, which worked really well, by the way, right? Yeah. It's like that's that freedom. Okay, yes. You are not dependent on that other person is not holding you. It's like if you don't owe, it's like the minute you have this independence. I think it's, but without the arrogance, I don't know how to say that. It's easy to become an asshole as well, right? So you don't want that. Absolutely not. Yeah. But when you are right and you believe that the other party is going in the wrong direction, that's why you have to work with super intelligent people, which is the case of Sumeru, right? That's the learning experience. Like you go with the smartest guys that you find, right? Not because. Of course, the smart guys then can screw you, right? But you don't think that way. You say, no, he's a smart guy, right? So I will be able to apply the same logic as him. So there will be alignment, right? So if something is not going the right direction, I can immediately have a nice, healthy discussion, and people smart people, they look for that type of resolution. So
yeah, and you have the freedom to just leave in case you wanted to, if something would not go your way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the, and I think it's reassuring for everybody who wants, if I was an investor, I don't want to, have a CEO that's staying here because he needs the job. That's the last thing I want, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But usually the private equity firms, they also want to see a return on their investment, of course, on the 300 million. I think usually it's around 5 years that their investment horizon is. Is that also the plan to then sell beqom again to new owners, or maybe even do an IPO one day?
Yeah, I think every when you build a company like this, unless and they have some great example. Sometimes they don't even speak out, but you have people that manage to create a company with 10,000 employees and still own 100% of the share. So, moving this, putting this as exception. If you build a business by raising money, it's always. I look at it as little races. There is a start and a finish line, and and the history of beqom has been done like this. The Goldman Sachs story from 2017 to 2022, that's exactly it.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Yes.
for me, they were and it's exactly what you're talking about. You know, it's 3, 4x. It doesn't matter, right? But people want, their investment back X time, right?
Of course.
Everybody wants that. And I'm the guy that will deliver that. Okay, I can probably not do the 10 or 100x, right? But I will never settle for 1 or 2x, right?
Yeah.
I will always. So yeah, absolutely. With Sumeru, there is, and you don't know what will happen at the finish line, but you know
Sure.
where it is.
Yeah.
So for me, it's very clear. 2026, there is 27, right?
Yeah.
There's a finish line that is going to be there, and it's going to be an event. Could be, again, a trade sale. It could be an IPO. Could be, I think, it all depends of. I think at that stage, the bigger you are, the more options you have.
Right. So the next transaction will probably be more than 1 billion, most likely.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
What is sort of the ARR that you need to get to make that valuation happen? What is sort of your expectation?
3-digit, 100. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So Fabio, to wrap up the episode today, we also have some rapid fire questions for you. I give you a short question or different options to choose from, and you have to answer in 1 sentence. You ready?
Yes.
What is your favorite beqom memory?
So every day we do a kickoff. But can I explain what kickoff is?
Of course, yes.
Yeah, because I think it's
important. Yeah.
If you are listening and you have a company, it's something you have to do.
Yeah.
It's so in the previous companies and so on, American companies, you always have the sales kickoff, right? Which is about sales and so on. Yeah. And for me, I never understood why not for everybody. That the value that salespeople get from that is true for absolutely every function. Yeah. So we do a company kickoff where you bring absolutely 100% of the employees together, without exception, together for 3 days every year in a location. And of course you work. There is a lot of work, but you have a lot of fun. Work hard, play hard, and it's amazing. We have done it 15 times now.
Wow,
it's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, it's really amazing, and that's the best in the beqom stuff. Those 15 events are the best. Yeah.
I imagine. Are you more of an early bird or a night owl?
Exactly both.
Yeah. Hybrid.
Completely both at the same time, so not much sleep. I guess.
Have you ever regretted a decision during your time at beqom?
Yeah, letting go, meaning firing people, terminating people that I wish I had fine. I will not have. Yeah.
Windows or Mac OS?
Oh, Mac OS. Yeah. No question.
What's your favorite thing about the beqom team?
The culture.
Yeah, 100%. And the last one for you, what advice would you give to your 20-year-old self?
So many. So I have 20 years old kids, 20 and 22. So I try to give them this advice. So if you are an entrepreneur, if you like to have a little notebook on your phone, on your phone, take notes of every time there's something that doesn't make sense to you, right? Whether it's the way you order something or a product that you cannot find, something that doesn't make sense. Take a note, take a note, and because again, market opportunity,
exactly.
right? If you look for the parking spot, you are going to find it. If you don't look, the fine of finding a parking spot is maybe a bit lower.
I love that analogy. I never heard that before, but I'm going to remember that one for sure. Yeah. Fabio, thank you so much for this inspiring conversation, for your time today. All the best with the next growth step to the 1 billion plus acquisition. And thank you again for coming to the studio today.
My pleasure. Very fun question. So really good. Thank you, Stephan.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, you can support us by rating our show on Apple Podcasts. This way, we can reach an ever-growing number of aspiring entrepreneurs.